Problem 3-95. Determine if the function shown on the graph at right is odd or even or neither. Explain how you decided. Well, real quick, before we take a look at this graph here, let's just talk about what odd and even and neither actually means, or what it does. So even functions what you're focused on there is opposite inputs are going to give the same output. So opposite inputs give the same output. And what that really means here is it's going to be reflective across the y-axis. I'll explain why here in just a sec. So this graph here, I don't know what the equation is. All I know is that it comes down here and it goes back up. So I can see that the y-axis is a line of symmetry here on whatever the shape is. Kind of looks like a parabola, but it could be a different degree. But if we look here now, because I say opposite inputs give the same output, let's look at some inputs here. Let's choose the input of 1. If I plug in 1 there, it looks like my output is maybe -4. I've got this point here at 1, -4. So when I would have plugged in 1 into my function, my output would have been -4 there. Now the opposite input to 1 would be -1. So if I go to -1 and I go down here and I look to see where my point is, you see that it is also at -4. So my opposite input is giving me the same output. So f of -1 also equals -4. Therefore, this is an even function here. Now, if you're still a little unsure about these here, I'll go ahead and explain odd functions here real quick. So this is just extra. If you've already got what you needed from this video, you can turn it off. Otherwise, feel free to keep listening. Odd functions, we have opposite inputs that are going to give us opposite outputs. So the transformations that we can kind of see from this statement here would be either a reflection, or we can say it's reflective over both the x and the y axes. Ooh, axes. I'm going to say A-X-E-S. If I spelled it wrong, so sorry. And then you could also say that this one has 180 degrees rotational symmetry about the origin. So in other words there, if you looked at something like, how about y is equal to x to the third power? Look at our parent function for a cubic. If we have here our coordinate plane, we know it looks something like this. It comes up, and then it goes through the origin, and then it goes down this way. So what we have there is something here that has 180 degree rotational symmetry about the origin here. Now, if we were to take values and plug them in here, let's look at it as if I was going to plug in 1 and -1 here. So if I put in 1 into the cubic function, I'm going to put 1 cubed. So my output is 1. So I have 1, 1 is my point. If I put in the opposite, remember, opposite inputs are going to give opposite outputs. So if the output for 1 was 1, the output for -1 is going to have to be the opposite of whatever this is, which is exactly what we see when we raise -1 to the third power. We get -1 out. So we get the point 1, -1, which is, I'm sorry, -1, 1. It's actually -1, -1. All right. Sorry about that. So we went back 1, we went down 1 there. So that's where you see that. They're always going to be in these opposite quadrants here. If you had, say, some function and you plugged in 3, and let's say you got -12 out, well, if it's odd, then you would say, all right, if I put in the opposite input, then I should get the opposite output out, which would then be +12. So odd functions, you're always going to get those opposite outputs. Even functions, you'll see you'll get the same. If I did an even function up here and I said f of 5 gives me 25, then when I plug in the opposite of that, I'm also still going to get 25 out there. That's even. Odd, you get the opposite outputs. And then neither would be when you don't get any kind of relation at all. It does not meet one of these transformations, and the points don't make any, don't have any, they're either not the same or not opposites there. For instance, neither, you could have points that were like f of 1 equals 6, and f of -1 equals -2. There's no relationship there. That would be neither. All right, hopefully this helped you out there. I know that there are some questions on this, so ask your teacher if you need additional help. Otherwise, thanks for watching.